There's a lot of scams in Italy. I'm going to give you the top 10 so you can leave with your wallet, your passport, and your phone. I want you to love Italy as much as I do. While pickpocketing is definitely the most common, there's a lot of other scams, ranging from clever distractions to outright fraud. You might be wondering, is this by organized crime or is this just random people doing these scams? Many of these scams are just opportunistic, but some of these in the larger cities of Italy are actually organized groups. These hustlers know tourist patterns. They know where you are, they know you don't know your surroundings, and you are a really easy target. Stay to the end, and I will tell you what kind of punishment these scammers get when they're caught. You're going to be surprised. So let's jump right in. Here are the top 10 scams you need to be aware of before your amazing trip to Italy. Number one, the friendship bracelet or the rose scam. Here's what happens. A really super friendly person, usually a man of African descent, will walk up to you smiling and he will tie a free bracelet onto your wrist before you even know what has happened. Or he'll shake your hand and give you the bracelets. Or he may be giving you a rose as a gift. Seconds later, they demand payment. A lot of times they'll get really loud and aggressive, and these guys are unbelievably persistent. This happens on the Spanish Steps in Rome near the Trevi Fountain. It happens in Florence and Milan near the big Duomos. These guys are a loose network of street hustlers. Often they're migrants organized somewhat informally, but they are supervised by a local handler who takes a cut. Here's how you can avoid these guys. When you see them coming at you and reaching for your wrist, just say no very firmly and walk away. Do not stop and do not engage with these guys. Scam number two is the fake charity or the petition scam. What happens is someone, often a young woman, will approach you or either hold the sign up that says, "Do you speak English?" She's going to have a clipboard and she's either going to ask you for a donation to some really great cause, or she's going to ask you to sign her petition, which is also for a great cause like world peace or something. So when you sign this or when you engage with this woman, three different things could happen. One, they're going to ask you for money for their cause or their fake charity. The main reason they want you to give them money is because they have an accomplice that is watching you to see where you're keeping your money. So they'll be visiting you very briefly after this to grab your money. Or while you're signing that petition, she may have her hand under the clipboard and digging through your bag to get your items. Or she may have a friend that's working with her that's standing behind you and getting into your bag. So this happens in the busy squares, train stations, near major attractions. I've also seen this one happen in Paris right in front of Notre Dame. So who are these people? This is an organized pickpocket crew. They have petitions and props like that little sign, "Do you speak English?" And they're preying on your natural instincts to be nice and say, "Yes, I speak English. How can I help you?" So, how do you avoid this? You're a tourist, so no one really needs you to sign a petition, right? And never hand over any cash on the street. That is really giving people the opportunity to grab all the cash in your hand and run away, or to know where you're keeping your money. So, how do you avoid this? You're a tourist, so no one really needs you to sign a petition, right? And never hand over any cash on the street. That is really giving people the opportunity to grab all the cash in your hand and run away, or to know where you're keeping your money. The third scam, an overcharging taxi or even a fake taxi. I have fallen for both of these in other countries, not in Italy, but they're very popular pretty much anywhere you travel. So what happens? A taxi driver refuses to turn on their meter, or they tell you it's broken. Or maybe they quote you a fare going from point A to point B, but that fare is usually 3 to 5 times more than the normal fare. And some of these fake taxis, like the one I got into in Montenegro, is not licensed at all. It was very scary, but that is a story for another day. So, where does this happen? This is going to happen any place a lot of tourists need a ride, like the airport, especially the Rome Fiumicino Airport, which is their major international airport, or the Naples Airport, train stations, or any tourist center. So, who are these people? These are usually just independent scammers, or maybe uh, a small ring of taxi drivers that target the airport. How do you avoid this? Only use the official taxis in Italy. And I'll tell you, that's going to be a white taxi that will have a license number on the door and they will have a working meter. Now, if you're going to travel to other countries, I highly suggest, if you're a solo female, that you do some research and know what the licensed taxi is in the countries you're going to visit. Another way you can get a licensed taxi is to make sure you're not overcharged, is to ask someone at your hotel or even at the airport kiosk what the normal fare would be to go from the airport, let's say, to your hotel. They should know, and sometimes there will even be some signs posted that will tell you the normal fares so that you know you're not taken advantage of. The fourth scam is the train or the ticket machine helper. What happens in this scam, and I've seen this happen a lot at the Termini train station in Rome. By the way, this train station is the pits of hell, in my opinion. It is huge. It has trains, buses, a grocery store, spa, restrooms, of course, currency exchanges, shops, restaurants, and a ton of scammers. So you go to the ticket machine, which is a little confusing, and some helpful person is going to assist you by pressing the buttons and telling you what to do. So they're after they finish that, they are either going to demand that you give them a tip, or they're going to grab the change out of your hand, or maybe they've got a friend that has stolen your bag while they were helping you. So where does this happen? At that Rome Termini train station. It happens in Milan at their central train station, or in Florence at the main train station, which is Santa Maria Novella, or in Napoli or Naples at their main train station. So these people are groups of petty thieves, and they're really just looking for opportunities to rob tourists. And they work in pairs. There's almost always two of them if someone is helping you. So, how can you avoid these people? Just politely say no, I can manage, and keep your bag in front of you, keep your luggage, right with you so they can't grab it. Or even better, just go to the ticket booth and have someone official help you. They'll make sure you get the right ticket at the right price at the right time to the right place. So, the fifth scam is the fake photographer or that costume character. You'll see someone dressed like a gladiator, especially in Rome. You're right there at the Colosseum, or even they set up in this crazy floating man thing. I saw this in Rome too. Here's a picture of that. And they offer to let you take a photograph for free, or maybe they give you a really low price for a photograph. But then they take multiple photographs, and surprise, the price they gave you was for one photograph or per photographs. So if they said 10 euros and they took 5 photographs, now you owe them 50 euros. And that free photograph typically turns into a 20 or 30 euro photograph when it's all done. So, where are you going to see these people? At the Colosseum. That's where you're going to see a lot of these gladiators. You're going to see them in Florence and in Venice. Um, in Florence, you're going to see it at the Duomo, and in Venice, there's St. Mark's Square that is really busy, and you're going to see a lot of them there. So, these people are local hustlers. They're semi organized, and the officials sometimes tolerate them. You'll see them there all day, so you know there's been an opportunity for the police to stop them. But there has been some crackdowns lately from what I've read, but when I was there last time, they were everywhere. So if you want to photograph with these people, which you might, agree to a price and how many photographs. Or just say no, thank you, and you always have your phone where you can snap a quick photograph like I did. The sixth scam is the gold ring. This one must rake in a ton of cash because you will see it in a lot of places. It is in Italy and it is also in Paris, right by the Eiffel Tower. So, what happens is you're walking along and someone typically in front of you reaches down to the ground and picks up this gold ring. And they say, "This is your gold ring." And you, of course, look at your rings and you're like, "No, no, it's not my ring." But then they insist that you buy this ring. So they'll offer it to you for, 10 or 20 euros. It's just a fake brass ring. It's not really gold. So they either make the money off of selling you this piece of junk, or while you're talking to them and, trying to find the rightful owner, once again, they're preying on you being nice, someone is picking your pocket. So, like I said, this happens in Rome, Florence, and Milan, and any tourist hub, and in Paris near the Eiffel Tower. So, who are these people? These are often Eastern European women. You may only see one woman picking up this ring, but trust me, she has a whole group with her, and they're trying to pickpocket you and trying to keep you in that conversation as long as they can. And like I said, this must be profitable because they do it over and over again all day long. And how do you avoid this one? Do not give eye contact, do not talk, do not engage in any way, just walk on by. Do you want to know more about pickpockets? Check out my video where I give you all the details. After catching 4 pickpockets in Europe, 2 of them in Italy, I've got some tips for you. And scam number 7. This one actually seems to be only done in Italy as far as what I have seen. What happens is you are out wandering around looking for a restaurant, and there's this super aggressive, very friendly guy standing out front outside trying to get you to come into the restaurant. Sometimes you're tired, you just want to eat, and you go in. They give you a special tourist menu. It will typically have photos of the food and it's all in English, except it's missing the prices. Or maybe there's prices and you end up with a lot of extra items being brought to your table that you did not order. So your final bill is sky high. Now, don't confuse the coperto fee that's on a lot of bills when you go out to eat in Italy as a scam. This is a normal fee. If you sit down at a cafe or on a nice patio, they will charge you usually 1 to 3 euros, and it's usually mentioned on the menu. It'll say there's a coperto if you sit down. Um, don't worry, that's not a scam. The scam is when they bring you the bread and all these other things that you didn't ask for. You eat them, and then they charge you an exorbitant fee. So, where's this going to happen? Obviously, close to tourist venues where they're going to get a lot of tourists coming in. And this is in Venice, Rome, Florence, and even the Amalfi Coast. So, who are these people? These are just dishonest restaurant operators. They're not dangerous, they're just trying to exploit you because you're a tourist. So, how do you avoid this? Always make sure there's going to be prices on your menu. Ask for the prices if they're not there. Also, I would avoid any restaurant where someone is standing outside having to bring guests into the restaurant. If it's a great restaurant, the locals will know it. They will be eating there. They don't need to pull in the tourist. So, how do you find those local restaurants? I would suggest you go at least 2 blocks away from any major tourist site. And that's where you're going to find the more local restaurants. The food is going to be so much better and a lot cheaper. The scam number 8 is the ATM card skimmer or a really bad exchange rate. So what happens is you go to use an ATM and somebody is has put a skimming device in there. They're going to capture your card information and your PIN. Or maybe somebody's standing really close by pretending to talk on their phone, but they're videoing you typing in your PIN number. Or maybe you're getting your money and none of that happens, but the rate they charge you for an exchange rate is beyond what the normal exchange rate is at that time. So you're going to find these in ATMs outside of tourist areas or near big public transportation like train stations. Also, there's one ATM you need to totally avoid, and it's a bright yellow ATM that's owned by Euronet. They're known for charging really high fees and having confusing language when you go to see how you're going to get that exchange rate. When you're given a choice on exchange rates, always choose for your bank at home to do the exchange rate. That's always going to be the better one. So, who are these people? This is a small, organized, tech savvy criminal ring. So, avoid this by do not using those bright yellow machines. Use the ATMs inside the banks. Make sure you cover your PIN and check for, make sure nothing looks funny, that there's no loose parts on the front. Hi, I'm Jennifer. If you're finding these tips valuable, please consider subscribing to my channel and I'll bring you more travel news you can use. Number 9 is a helpful stranger. So this is a lot like the ticket person that's being helpful. This is a person that you have not asked to help you. And they're going to help you with things like your luggage, carrying it somewhere. This happens a lot in Venice because there's a million stairs to carry your luggage over. Or maybe they are going to help you find the right train or give you directions. And then they demand payment, or they've got a friend who's picking your pocket. So this happens at stations, airports, public transportation, anywhere they know they can find people that are lost, which are basically tourists. So these people are petty thieves. They're not always in a organized gang, and they're usually repeat offenders. This is probably their full-time job. So how do you avoid these people? Is just be firm and say, no, thank you, I can handle it. Don't accept help unless it's from someone who's officially working at the place you're at. And number 10, this one is really popular in Italy. I haven't seen it done in many other places, but I'm sure it is. So, what happens is a street vendor puts their really nice, and that's in quotes, oil paintings on the ground. Um, and you have to walk around this art to get to where you're going. And they make it where it's very difficult to walk around their art. They'll demand, or they'll say that you've stepped on something, one of their art pieces, and then they'll demand that you pay them for the damage. So these are not usually actual pieces of art. These are just prints they've made hundreds of for probably €1 each. So whenever you're in open air squares like Florence or Milan near touristy areas, look for this. You're just going to walk away when they say you've stepped on their art because you most likely have not. This is just their way to extort money out of you. Italy is a wonderful place with amazing locals and sights that will amaze you. Don't think everyone is out to get you. Just stay aware of your surroundings and keep your personal belongings close. So what happens when these scammers get caught? You're going to be really disappointed when I tell you this, but there's a 2022 Italian law that states you have to have an official police report to report a scammer, and you have to be there for the trial or they will most likely drop all charges. So as you can imagine, not many scammers actually serve any time or have any penalties for their activities. Ciao for now.